In the previous episode of Build, we shared some of the most common myths and misconceptions related to augmented and virtual reality. If you missed the episode, I've included a link to it below. In today's episode, we're going to do a deeper dive into some of the applications of augmented and virtual reality and talk about how you can get involved and your hands dirty using the technology. So stay tuned. Welcome to Build, brought to you by Pivotal Tracker. I'm your host, Purnima Vijay-Shankar, the founder of Femgineer. In each episode, innovators and I debunk a number of myths and misconceptions related to building products, companies, and your career in tech. In today's episode, we're back with Rose Haft, who is the CEO and founder of Lumenora, and we're going to be doing a deeper dive into augmented and virtual reality, talking about some of the applications as well as how you can get started using the technology. Thanks again for joining us, Rose.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and dive in. Last time we talked about some of the myths. This time I want to talk about some of the applications. So maybe you can walk us through what you're seeing in terms of use cases for AR and VR.
Yeah. So even though people think that AR and VR is dead, we talked about in the last episode, there are over 200 companies who are using it today,
Wow.
which is pretty significant. They're using it to help reduce errors in production lines, helping to provide instructions where people might not have a lot of experience in a job, and helping to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to when they're supposed to. So a lot of optimization. There are companies starting to work on healthcare, trying to help to improve the patient-doctor experience. And that's another prominent one that's starting to take off. And then also in gaming. I'm sure you guys have all seen a lot of gaming videos of your friends on the internet, and so it's another one that people really like and enjoy.
Yeah, I think the gaming one's been going on since the 90s, right? So that's definitely one that's sort of here to stay. So are there any other applications? I know I've seen some stuff around simulating things like surgeries. Anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the surgery front, being able to train people and have the opportunity to practice something before doing it in real life has been known to increase the likelihood of success. And so for people who are going into surgery, it's really helpful to know that the doctor has practiced a couple more times on a specific patient with similar body types and expectations and unique scenarios before they go in for a dangerous surgery. So we're really starting to see them being used to help humans make fewer errors in general, which is really, really interesting as we're increasing the robotic technology to create machines that can do things perfectly. We're also helping humans to do things perfectly as well.
Well, I don't know if perfection is necessarily the goal, but it's good to hear that that's what they're aiming for. So are these just trends, or are there more applications that you see coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, these definitely aren't trends. There are people who are starting to get to know and understand, and the right tools are being built now from software and a hardware perspective that will allow people to start adopting them. Today, I just had an interview with somebody who has tried using it in a business setting, and there's still some issues that they're running into, even with billions of dollars being put into developing headsets. And so as an engineer, I'm trying to, they say laziness is one of the virtues of being an engineer and trying to do things right the first time. And so we're, as a startup, after people have put a lot of money in, we're able to take a hard look at some of the reasons why people aren't able to use them, and be able to put them, design to prevent those flaws and make them more adoptable.
Yeah. So it's got to be a really high cost of production, right? And for people in our audience who want to play with the technology, it costs like several thousands of dollars just to get a headset. And then, of course, there's the software being developed. So how are you seeing the costs come down, or how are companies trying to bring down those production costs?
Yeah, so companies like mine know the importance of these technologies. I've spent time in India and Peru, and I've seen how much a lack of similar tools has really made an impact on the world. And so we're designing specifically to have a headset that can be used, is functional, works great, and has a price point. We can't fully disclose it yet,
Sure.
but ours won't take thousands of dollars to actually use and integrate with. We don't need to buy an expensive laptop in order to work with it. Ours will be able to work out of the box for about the cost of a cell phone, what you'd find now.
And what about the software that goes into it? Since nothing yet is standardized, are companies thinking about this? How can our audience develop applications?
Yeah, so Android is probably one of the easiest ways to get started. Android, if you know how to build apps, and there are a lot of tutorials, you can start to integrate with some of the same systems that would work on a phone as well as a headset like ours. Most headset companies do integrate in that ecosystem, and so that really helps. Otherwise, if you're more familiar with HTML or CSS, you can go to aframe.io, and there's also a Slack channel where you can get help learning how to use HTML and CSS to build applications using just regular web browser technology. It's a little more technical than that, but it's a good place to get started. And then also Unity is another big skill that people another software platform that people can use in order to get started.
Oh, great. So it's good to see that there's the same software platforms being leveraged, and it's not new languages or new frameworks that people have to adopt, except for maybe a couple things like you mentioned, Unity.
Yep. So I know there's a lot of different software languages to learn, and that can be very overwhelming. For the most part, all of them will talk to each other in some sort of way. And so if you want a specific language to write in, usually C or C++ is pretty universal, and it'll allow you to plug in with one platform or another. Java as well.
Yeah. And what about the actual sort of way to put the application into these headsets? Is it all internet enabled? How does that work?
Yeah, so every headset will have its own SDK that you can access and download typically through the internet, and something you have to work directly with the company. And so it really depends on what you want to use. Android tends to be the easiest because you can buy phones for less than $100 and you can start building and testing with that. And a lot of them are really functional and capable.
Yeah, maybe you can help us break down what SDK is.
Oh, yeah. So SDKs are software development kits. And so it'll have standardized code that will help you to talk to the hardware or talk to other pieces of software to make sure everything is compatible. For instance, with the different display systems, there are specific ways in which the display will be changed so it has a coherent image, and that will be part of an SDK.
So to draw an analogy to when mobile devices were first coming out, a lot of these platforms had emulators that you could put on your computer so that you didn't have to have every single device. You didn't have to have like an Android phone and an iPhone. Are there similar emulators being developed?
There should be. I haven't developed specifically for other headset companies. Trying to keep the IP stuff differently, but Android does have a really good job with emulators, and it should work standardly, and you should be able. Each headset company will have an easy way to integrate and make it look the same on their headset as well.
Okay, so maybe a market opportunity for some enterprising audience member out there, and certainly that also opens the door for testing. I'm sure there's not a lot of testing frameworks out there as well.
Yep.
Wonderful. So for those who want to get started, you already mentioned a few resources. Do you have any other resources out there that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, I think if you're wanting to get started, it is really great to find a mentor or somebody else in the space who has worked, join Slack channels and communities, and also talk to people who have been in the industry for a while and find out really what's worked, what hasn't worked, what they need help with. And a lot of people are very willing to take the time to share knowledge and information to help help you move forward and get started. So never feel ashamed to clarify, to ask for help, and to make sure that you're getting started and doing things in the best way.
Yeah, wonderful. And we'll be sure to share those links with our audience out there. Thank you so much, Rose, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode of Build. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive the next episode, and share this episode with your friends, your teammates, and your boss. And special thanks to our sponsor, Pivotal Tracker, for their help in producing this episode. Ciao for now. This episode of Build is brought to you by our main sponsor, Pivotal Tracker. We'd also like to thank our Platinum Patreon patrons, Corgi Bites, The Developer Show, D. Gill, and Jamie Hand. Finally, thanks to the following new patrons: Madhu Loganathan and Sita Anamurgu. If you've enjoyed watching Build, please consider becoming a patron and contributing on Patreon at www.patreon.com/build. You can pledge $5 a month or more, and your pledges will go towards helping us produce and promote the show. In exchange, you'll receive perks like being mentioned in the credits and digital copies of our latest ebooks. Platinum patrons will receive exclusive perks like monthly online group coaching, where I provide more hands-on coaching and a number of topics related to entrepreneurship and leadership. To find out more and contribute, please visit www.patreon.com/build.